Do you find that your January period leaves you feeling helpless, hopeless, and like one more thing that's totally draining your system after coming out of the holiday season? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You're not alone. January periods can be some of the most symptomatic of the entire year for many of us, and there's a reason behind it. Join me this week as we take a look at why our cycles get kind of unruly in January and what we can do about it.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering period solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I want to tackle January periods. Having practiced for the number of years that I've practiced, I feel like the theme of January is sorry I haven't steamed. My period is terrible. It's because I got out of my habits. I thought about rescheduling this appointment because I just knew it wasn't going to be a good one, et cetera, right? So I thought that it would be really helpful to do an episode about January periods specifically, because for the vast majority of us, periods in January tend to be the most symptomatic of the entire year. Why is that? Let's look at what we've been doing over the course of the last few months. So when it comes to magic making around the holidays, okay, and all of the holidays, it does not matter your religious background, what holidays you celebrate or do not celebrate, none of that. From about mid-November through the end of the year, pretty much everyone everywhere celebrates at least a couple of holidays. And all of those holidays, for them to be special, require work. It looks like cleaning the house. It looks like decorating. It looks like making special foods. It looks like travel. It looks like needing to present yourself in a certain way, either because you have outgrown old themes and familial patterns that you've grown up with, and you're coming together as a family and you have to quote unquote keep up appearances. Or maybe you have done a lot of personal growth, but the rest of your family is still in another place in their own journey, and they don't understand you or understand your perspective or understand the growth that you've undergone, or whatever the reason is. Holidays bring their own levels of stress. Now, for some of us, making the magic is so much fun. We love the gift giving and the wrapping and the music and the decorating. And, for some people that really fills their cup. But I'm thinking particularly people who are acts of service as their love language, right? Like the holidays are fun for them. But even those folks, because the demands of the holidays are in addition to everything else that we're already juggling, it's a lot. So our world, and I've said this in past episodes, but it totally bears repeating, that our world is moving faster than it's ever moved before. And our nervous system isn't designed to continue to function at this speed. We live in a culture, and when I say this, I'm talking about Western culture predominantly. We live in a culture that is hardwired to measure success based on staying in spring and summer energy all the time, meaning there's no rest, there's no slowing down, there's none of that. So we place great value and emphasis on this produce, produce. Okay. So we are already stressed, overtaxed, undernourished. And that could look like food, that could look like sleep, that could look like all kinds of things, right? We're already undernourished. We are not putting our own oxygen mask on first. We continue to pour and pour into the cups of others at the sacrifice of ourselves, to be quite honest. And in doing so, we lose sight of the fact that our body emulates the seasons and there's a natural pulling in, there's a natural slowing down energy that happens not only in nature outside of our window, but it's mirrored in our own bodies. And that slowing down in no way, shape, or form meets the expectations and demands of the holiday season. So, if we were to be in alignment with the natural energetic ebb and flow of things, starting right around mid November, we would be starting to pull inward. The days get shorter when you're in the northern hemisphere. You have less heat, less sunlight. The leaves are falling off the trees. Things are turning brown and starting to pull their energy inward. It's not fruiting and flowering energy like it's been up until that point, right? So we're going through this natural release, shed, letting go, slowing down, pulling inward. And societally, we're expected to put the pedal to the floor because now we have to prep for Thanksgiving. That involves food and family logistics and household logistics and cleaning and groceries and an extra burden on your financial budget that you didn't have before and all of these types of things. For some people, it's travel. They're not near their families. They have to make plans to get there. Travel can be really stressful for people. Okay. So when I talk to people about things that trigger your cycle to do weird things, travel is one of them. All right. So we're now talking about stressors that are already demonstrated to create challenges for your menstrual cycle during a time period where energetically you're not supposed to be go. All right. So that's November. Now we're moving into December, and starting in early December, we start seeing some of these high holidays, and then we start moving it, so regardless of what your religious background is, as we move through the month of December, we're starting to hit a lot of big holidays for a lot of people in Western culture. So not only did we have to dance and perform, right, for the Thanksgiving holiday and all the prep and travel and cleanup and cooking and everything that goes along with that, now we're in full on decorating mode and gift buying and gift giving. And, and if you have children, you're now making magic for them because there are all kinds of mythical creatures that leave gifts, right? And in different sequences, depending on where you are in the world. So this is a huge load on our system. We've moved closer to the shortest days of light of the entire year. So by the time we hit winter solstice, we are in it, man. We are in some of the busiest, most frantic energy of the entire calendar year during a time where our bodies want to hibernate. They want to pull inward. They want to rest. They literally want to sleep with the light that's going on or lack thereof outside the window. So now we're taking a stressful social situation and stressful family situation and extra activity on top of the fact that our lives are already overscheduled, overcommitted, stressful, and we don't give our nervous systems a break from any of that. We're going to pile this extra heavy load in on top of it, not to mention we have people who are grieving losses during the holiday season, either loved ones that they've lost and they're celebrating anniversaries, or people who are on the fertility journey that thought they would be holding a baby at that point. If you haven't seen that episode in season 2, I would highly recommend checking that out, about how holidays can be very triggering for people who are on the fertility journey. But there's a lot of layers to this. Okay, I know I've spent pretty close to 10 minutes just talking about all the demands. Are you feeling stressed out yet? All I'm doing is listing the stuff that is expected of us during this time frame and talking about it. I can feel myself start to feel stressed because there's this frantic go-go kind of feeling to it all. And we find ourselves in situations where the food is outside of our norms. So even when you're very health conscious, you're eating stuff you don't normally eat around the holidays. You're dealing with family situations that could potentially be triggering or stressful for whatever the reason, right? Maybe there's a family member that you now aren't getting along with, or, there's so many pieces to this. So we get through the holidays, we freaking survive. We get to our January period, and our period goes, girlfriend, you have done too much. You have burnt the candle too hard for too long. And here is the proof. So it is totally normal. Doesn't mean it's healthy, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it is totally normal for your January cycle to be like, what fresh hell is this? And stop the bus. Can I get off now? Because we already push things to an extreme, because that is the expectation of Western culture. Then add all of these emotional, spiritual, and physical demand layers in on top of an already overtaxed, overstressed body. And it's a recipe for things not going smoothly. So even if you've been taking all of the advice that I've offered on this program for the last 2 years and putting it to good use, you still very likely will see something happening that isn't ideal in your January cycle. For some people, they see it in December because Thanksgiving could be a very stressful situation for them. But for the vast majority of people, I feel like my entire January experience in my practice is literally the same message on repeat. I go from one appointment to the next, and the message from the client on the other end of the phone, none of them knowing one another at all, right, is always the same. My sleep was off. My food was off. I didn't adhere to a diet that feels supportive in any way, shape, or form. I didn't get a chance to do my steaming, or I only did it once and I didn't do it as much as I usually do. My digestion is off, fill in the blank. And they're like, and man, was my period rough. And I laugh only because, not at your misfortune, I swear. I'm not laughing at your misfortune because that part really sucks. But I laugh simply because if you guys were sitting in my seat, you'd probably chuckle at the synchronicity that happens all through the month of January, which is exactly why I'm recording this episode, because I want you to know that this is common and it is normal, only because, okay, symptoms are not normal. We normalize them in our culture. Okay. So I want to start by saying that anytime you have symptoms with your period, it is not normal. It is normalized. Okay. Our culture says that it is quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes, normal to have brown blood, clots, cramps, headaches, mood swings, all that stuff. None of that's normal. Our culture has told us it's normal because it is such a frequently experienced set of things. And yet, it is not normal. It is just normalized. So let's apply this to this January situation. Symptoms are not normal, right? But it is common to find the January menstrual experience to be the most symptomatic of the entire year. And it has to do with this cumulative effect. Okay. We do too damn much. We do too damn much. We shame ourselves for stopping. We feel guilty if we take time for ourselves. We feel anxious when we're not in motion because we feel like we should be doing something or we need to be creating or cleaning or fixing or fill in the blank, right? If I don't do it, it won't get done. Man, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said that to me when we talk through these January appointments, I'd be a very rich woman because collectively, we feel as women that we have to do it or it won't get done. And some of that is expectations that are created by society. Some of that is self imposed because society tells us that we have to do it. However, we need to negotiate that level of responsibility with the people around us. I am very blessed that I have a very egalitarian relationship with my partner. And yet, this is not the structures that either of us were raised in. This is something we negotiated because we saw the health challenges, the social challenges, the energetic challenges that came for our parents when this kind of equal division of stuff wasn't managed, negotiated, created, fill in the blank, right? So a lot of times women internalize all of this and we're expected to do the wrapping, do the shopping, do the planning, do the cooking, all of that kind of stuff for our family, for extended family, for, whoever it is that you're celebrating and merrymaking with. And I look at it this way, and my husband and I have had this conversation many times about the fact that everybody contributes to the house getting dirty. Everybody contributes to dirty dishes. Everybody creates laundry. So everybody can share in the load of taking care of all of those things, which helps to create some space so that when you add holidays in on top of it, you're not drowning. Yes, it is still a lot. It is still a lot. I'm not downplaying that. For me, I feel very overloaded at the holidays. And it's not that I don't love the holidays. I do. I love the lights and I love the festive sounds and I love the music and all of these things. But the needing to pack up my family of 5 and 3 dogs and drive and make sure that the dogs aren't having an accident in my parents' house or something like that, like that's stressful. And you are on the entire time you are visiting because you don't want to create messes for other people. You don't want to impose yourself on other people. You don't want to be a burden, right? So, like, all these things that we tell ourselves about, like, oh, like, I'm doing the best I can, and that creates strain in our system. That kind of hypervigilance, I remember that feeling so deeply when I had a toddler. Holy crap. I felt like she got into everything, and she wasn't like a super like busy, get into places she wasn't supposed to kind of child, but she just like, I was always on red alert because I was worried she was going to break something, or she was going to get into something that might hurt her, or she was going to try to eat something she wasn't supposed to, or right, like all these like things that you worry about as parent. And I just run after her all the time. And I was a single parent for a little while when she was a toddler, and I really never felt like I could relax because I didn't have anyone else to watch her, right? So that same level of energy, that same level of hypervigilance is what we're holding in our system when we're going into the holiday season. And then if you have small people, you are worrying about all these things that I just listed, right? Because maybe you have a couple of little people going in different directions and you're at somebody else's house and you're trying to make sure that the vase doesn't get broken and like all of that stuff. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. And then our January cycle comes and we go, oh, I feel like hell. This is terrible. Make it stop. So, with all of this extra load comes extra load on our system. And it is only normal for our system to quote unquote act up because we've just had too darn much. It feels even more extra during a time of year where our bodies want to pull inward and sleep more. I don't know about you, but in the shorter days of the year, I want to hibernate. Usually I'm like a planner and goer and doer kind of person, but this particular season, I have felt that call to go inward and be introspective and sleep more and really just rest in a way that I think in all the years that I've done this work, I've felt the call, but it hasn't been as strong as it has been this past year. And maybe this is because I've made a lot of conscious, mindful effort in syncing my lifestyle, my sleep patterns, all of these things with the lunar cycle, with the solar cycles of the day and night, all of these kinds of things, right? Because I've done this in an effort to recalibrate my body from extreme stress during the pandemic. And this kind of needing to go inward is really what is normal during this time period. And when we're working against, that's no different than any of the other episodes where I've talked about swimming against the current, where you're paddling like crazy, the water's going in one direction and you're trying to swim against it, and you completely gas yourself out because you're putting in all of this effort, but you're really not moving too much. It's the same thing here, where you're putting in all of this effort, but the current is carrying you in another direction. So, stress is the number one culprit for cycle related challenges. And this isn't just, I have a stressful job or I have a busy household. This is not aligning the way that you're moving through the world with the energetic changes of the season. So don't get frustrated, I guess is the moral of this story. Do not get frustrated that your January cycle feels like your body is rebelling against you. Our period serves as an organic computer printout, and it tells us, have we rested enough? Have we done too much? Have we eaten like shit? Have we not slept enough? It literally prints it all out for you at the end of the month and goes, here you go. This is what needs support this month. But we haven't been taught to look at our period that way. We have been taught to dread them. We've been taught that it's normal for them to have symptoms. We've been taught a whole bunch of nonsense. And whether that is conscious or unconscious, we really collectively do not know a lot about our body and our cycle. And stress hits biological female bodies so much harder than male counterparts. We are more sensitive to sleep deprivation because of how our sex hormones are held and produced in our body. We are more sensitive to changes in our environment. So, remember when I said about holiday travel, moving, job changes? It could be something as positive as honeymoons and weddings. Those things can create cycle related changes. People bleeding at times they don't expect, or periods disappearing just before they're supposed to arrive and then not arriving for a few months until after the wedding or whatnot. All of these things happen because women's bodies are collectively more sensitive to fluctuations in rhythm. And when we are out of alignment with the seasons, we're out of alignment with the moon cycle, we're out of alignment with our routines, our sleep schedules, all of these kinds of things, it really wreaks havoc on our system. So be gentle with yourself. And while we have just come through another holiday season, I invite you, as part of this 2024 year, to take a look at how you want to reinvent the holidays for yourself so that this societal expectation, rigmarole, insane pace of life doesn't sneak up on you next year. And decide what is meaningful, what is worth holding on to, and what are you doing for the pleasure of others but doesn't feel good inside of your body. Your intuition never lies. Your internal guidance system is so much smarter than your brain is. I know that sounds crazy to some of you listening, but really and truly, your body knows before your brain ever catches up. And if somebody says going to Aunt Sue's house is part of the plan, and you can physically feel your body recoil and go, oh no, then there's something to look at there. So maybe you end up making some decisions that aren't super popular. Maybe it means making changes that feel better to you. Maybe it's taking some things that you usually do off your plate or dividing that labor with others. Whatever it looks like for you, I invite you to take a look at how your November and December played out for you this year. What kind of stressors hit your system? What kind of things felt aligned to you, and which things just really didn't, but you did them because you felt like you were obligated to do it? And create a list while all of this is still fresh in your nervous system, and decide for the next year, where are you going to hold harder boundaries around caring for yourself? Maybe it means that you know that the holidays are going to take a lot out of you. So maybe you go into your friendly acutonics practitioner like me, for example, and you go to a sound bath a couple times a month through the entire holiday season. So every other week, you're getting a treatment. Maybe you're getting a massage. Maybe you're going to acupuncture. Maybe you're getting chiropractic adjustments. Maybe you're going to a Reiki practitioner or a reflexology. Like, sky's the limit. Maybe you go to float. Whatever it is that you choose to do, make sure you are accounting for your needs. Put your oxygen mask on first. Because if you don't, you're not going to have what you need to give to everyone else. And you're going to feel resentful because you're going to feel tired, and you're going to feel like you're going it alone and like nobody helps you. And it's the same as it was last year. And why is it that nobody ever helps me and I'm stuck doing this alone? Does any of that land with you? I hear statements like that all the time. Hell, I've had times I've felt like that myself. Women are the magic makers. We bear the brunt of the emotional load, the physical load of making the holidays magical for everyone else. And it takes a toll on our system. It does not come without a cost. So I invite you, like I said, while it's still fresh in your mind, lay some ground rules for what your next year is going to be like. Make sure you're resting during your period this January. You're keeping your body warm. You're giving yourself warm, nourishing foods like soups and stews. You are covering your skin so that you're not, needing to fight to keep yourself warm, to try to ease the discomfort and the symptoms that tend to come along in January. You can be proactive about those things now, but I invite you to consider what you want your next holiday season to look like and what kinds of structures, boundaries, support systems, planning you need to do now. Maybe it's having groceries delivered, maybe just something small like that, or having somebody come in and clean your house while you're cooking. Or, I mean, there's so many ways that you can ask for help and have a division of labor with your partner, with other people who can come in and help you, with your children, whatever that looks like for you. Figure out, brainstorm, because then you've got time to think about it before you get into it, before you're in the thick of it, before you're exhausted and you don't know what to do with yourself. And you're ready to cry yourself to sleep at night, but I've got to be up until 2:00 in the morning wrapping presents because this just has to get done. Before you find yourself in that situation, how can you get ahead of it? Who can help you? There is no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in asking for support. There's no shame in seeking others, like practitioners like myself, for example, to pour back into your cup to help nourish you. Because it's going to help you have the stamina, the energy, the resources, the nourishment, emotionally and physically, to get you through the holidays and through the finish line. So you are not alone. These are important takeaways of this episode. You are not alone. January cycles are really hard, and it's really hard because we bear the brunt of the load. I invite you to consider how you can enlist a village to support you, whatever way that feels good to you, whether that's ways to pour back into your own cup, ways to get help from others, boundaries, maybe doing shopping earlier rather than trying to do it all at the last minute, whatever that looks like for you. Brainstorm ways that you can feel nourished. If you were to put your hands over your heart and close your eyes and take a deep breath and go, what would my perfect holiday season look like? And try to pull it into your mind with as many details as you possibly can. Write all of that down. You're not dreaming too big. Maybe it's just a matter of, now that I've created this picture and I know what would feel really good inside my body around this, now I can create some actual structured ideas around how I could make that happen. And you might not be able to make it absolutely picture perfect, but you might be able to get darn close. And your cycle will thank you for it. Your period will thank you for it. Your body will thank you for it. And you will come out the other side with your January period not wreaking havoc on your life, maybe taking you out of your regular scheduled programming, because school picks up during that time frame, illnesses tend to pick up during that time frame. Like, there's so many other things that can derail you. Don't let your period be one of them. Because when we learn how to do proper period care and we learn how our bodies emulate the energy of the seasons around us and what we need in each phase of our menstrual cycle, all of a sudden we're going with the current, not against it. And things go so much more smoothly. You can do this. I believe in you.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at MoonEssenceMe on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.